but there can only be one, right, when it comes to my book of the month. I had several contenders this month, and I'm not going to say several when I only had I've always been confused about that. Does several mean 7, or does it just mean many? I should probably know that. I probably just embarrassed myself. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time. It definitely won't be the last time. I had multiple choices that I was considering for my book of the month. And it was really hard for me because I feel like I always place these rules on myself. I say that rereads don't count, collections don't count, things like that. But guys, for me, it's impossible for me not to pick You Like It Darker because this was the best thing that I read this month. I was completely floored by how this turned out, because a lot of things in the last decade, Stephen King has just kind of promoted, the marketing team has promoted the book as something, and then you get it, and it's not like that thing at all. So you were talking, this one was just talking about how, okay, he's going back to his roots, he's going back to some horror, he's going back to some messed up stuff, and then you would get the book, and you would think, oh, okay, well, you get one dark story, and then you get, like, here's 11 other things that are just like, the things he's been doing. And no, this was actually true to the marketing. This has everything that I love about Stephen King in it. Some that don't make sense. Now, look, not every story is a hit, but I still think this is probably my favorite collection of his since Nightmares and Dreamscapes back in the 90s, and that's going back a way. So I always think that his short stories, they're usually pretty good. I get disgruntled when they end too quickly or that they go too long. It feels weird to say that about a short story, but that would be kind of like my gripes about some of the things. But I feel like this one really had some stories that if he had wanted to expand some of these to novels, I think he probably could have done a really, really good job at it. And to me, that means he's doing his job with a short story. Is if it's ending and you want more, I feel like that's really something that he's just hit a home run on. Now, with Stephen King, obviously, he writes amazing characters, and you think, okay, well, you need time to develop characters. What this guy is able to do in like 50 pages or less with some of these characters is actually quite impressive. Should we be impressed at this point? I mean, he's been doing it for 50 plus years now. Not really. But it's just one of those things that I know that, like me, a lot of people are just character first readers, and they think, with a short story, you're not going to be able to develop a character very well. This is the master we're talking about here. He's still able to do it. So worry not. He can still do that. He still has his fastball in every sense of the word when it comes to doing that. But with this, I was just quite pleased with how everything turned out, because there's some in here that just might be some of my favorite short stories ever written. I just think, just alone, the first story, The Two Talented Bastards, was just peak King. It's amazing. It's everything that I think a lot of people want a Dreamcatcher to be. I feel like he really did hit out of the park in that one. And yes, I would absolutely love like a 300 to 500 page novel about that story. I think it could be just amazing. So many hits in here. The sequel to Cujo's the one that's getting a lot of the run, and it was one of those where I feel like if you hadn't actually said it was a sequel to Cujo and had a different character name, you could have probably told another story. But with that, it was more of like just catching up with that character, the lead character or not the lead character, but a character from Cujo. It just seeing where their life's at now. And he actually makes it quite heartbreaking when you see all the things that transpired after the events of Cujo. Somehow he makes it even sadder. And he's just a wizard at that. But what I didn't expect was him to turn into a ghost story, which at first I thought was a really strange choice. But there are parts of Cujo that were always unexplained when it came in regard to Vic listening to his kid's closet. And it was like, what was the deal with the closet? What was that about? You always just thought Stephen King had said he was so messed up on drugs and substance abuse at the time that he didn't even remember writing Cujo, and always just kind of washed that up to, he didn't know what he was writing. That's why that one weird part with the closet was in there. I feel like Rattlesnakes does finally give an answer to what the deal was there, and seeing that there was a haunting going on. And to me, it was very satisfying. So, yes, I usually wouldn't count a collection on a book of the month with something like this, but it was too good to ignore. It really was. I just enjoyed it so much. I read it in like 2.5 days. I just blew through this. And again, it's just, when it comes to King, there might be a little bit of a cheat sheet. And it's weird because I feel like in the last decade, his books have been okay. I mean, it's one of those where I'm like, I don't feel like he's hit paycheck stage of his career because he obviously still has stories to tell, but every once in a while, he'll have that one story that comes out and just completely knocks your socks off. And I would put this up there with like a Later, where it was something that like I didn't expect it to be as good as it did turn out to be. So that's why I could not just kind of follow that rule and say I can't count a collection, because this was without a doubt the best thing that I read in the month of May. So if you guys like Stephen King, you don't like Stephen King, you don't have to read anything else. to really enjoy this. You don't even have to read Cujo to understand this. Just know that if you haven't read Cujo and you want to, the story Rattlesnakes does spoil everything that happens in Cujo. So take that into consideration. But I've had some people be like, how much do I have to read of Stephen King to read that? Nothing. You don't have to read anything. It's just short stories, guys. And I think that most of them you will find enjoyable. And that's why it is my book of the month for May of 2024. Hope you guys will check it out.